The Chicago Bulls have another chance to get revenge against the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that have now beat them on their home court twice. Will they be able to stand up to the test better with what they did last time? Will Zach LaVine have a better output than what he did last game at home against the Cleveland Cavaliers? And can the Bulls find victory out on the road in Cleveland? We'll talk about that, plus some things that I would love to see the Chicago Bulls adjust in the 2023. We'll get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans, welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central. I'm the host here, Haize, as you guys already know, but the Bulls have a game tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and this is yet another revenge game, the second in a row against the same team that has just completely beat the Chicago Bulls on their own home court now 2 times, and in both those games, missing key parts to their rotation. And it looks like they're going to be missing those same 2 parts more than likely in this game, as Darius Garland and Evan Mobley are probably going to miss this game again. Now, also for the Bulls, Javonte Green, Derrick Jones Jr., they are still listed on the injury report, as is Alex Caruso. Some of them are doubtful, some of them are probable. But at the end of the day, it's this. As we know, the Chicago Bulls team, as so often, it comes down to execution and heart. The Chicago Bulls put together one of the worst second halves that they've had so far this season against the Cleveland Cavaliers, going scoreless for about 5 minutes in a key part of the game. Zach LaVine was a large no-show in the second half of that game at home. Now, the Bulls need to focus on improving those 2 things first. And with improvement in those areas, of course, the game could get easier for the Chicago Bulls. Defensively, this team needs to, again, uncover that heart that they played with in some of these games and dig in and have a good defensive effort against a team that is no slouch at all, right? The Cleveland Cavaliers are legit. As much as doubt as I had on them coming into the season, they've proven all that wrong, as I keep saying. And for the Chicago Bulls team to get over this hump against this team, they're going to have to find a way to win this game. Now, albeit the Bulls are winners of 5 of their last 7 and have looked like a much better team over those 7 games. Not every game is going to be a win, but at this point, we do need a win against the Cleveland Cavaliers team, an interdivision rival on top of that. Now, how do the Bulls do that? Better balance is one, meaning the big 3 have to go back to looking like a big 3. The Schmedium 3 were the Schmedium 3 again in the last game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, after looking like a team that are looking like a unit that was actually a big 3 in the last few games before then. Does every player have to be above 20 points per game to really look like a big 3? No. It's all about the balance, and they need to have a better balanced attack and trust their teammates more, which I'll get into more on that in a minute. The more consistent defense from this team, as we already know, is kind of the key to this team unlocking whatever the next level of this team can be. They need that energy. We need better shooting. We need all of those things. Keep those turnovers down to a low, right? This Bulls team is much better when they have between 6 to 10 turnovers in a game. Now, if they can find a way to do that while also shooting the ball above 50% and having a decent 3-point attack, that's when the offense looks at its best. When they get everyone involved, all 5 starters involved, moving the ball around. That is something that they started off, and again, talk about that here in a second, started off the last game doing, that I need to see this team get back to execution on the offensive side of the ball. And the defensive lapses, you can't have those, not against a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers. And you can't let Caris LeVert be the one to go off on you. Now, it's easier said than done, as we all know. Sitting here on this side of it, it's always easy to say and point out the things that the team needs to do, but they've pointed it out. And as much as they pay lip service to the things that they need to do, and sometimes we don't see it come into reality in the game, we need that tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we really do need that for the rest of the season if this Bulls team is actually going to have this turnaround in which they make the playoffs. Right now, still a play-in team, and shout out to the Bulls for getting up to that point while still being below 500. But as we know, that this team needs to grab their own destiny by the horns and steer the deer. That's what they need to do, which is a terrible analogy. Don't use that. Now, with that being said, though, I need to see a better balanced attack from this team, and we need to see the Chicago Bulls coaching staff get back to doing better adjustments. Over the Bulls' last 5 wins that they've won in the last 7 games, this team has adjusted and made some adjustments specifically on the offensive side of the ball as the game goes on to how they're running their offense, and they found some success in that. I still do want to see this team be a more inside-out team, using Nikola Vucevic to really set up and distribute the offense. But Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, they have to get back to being those willing passers, put their teammates in positions to get easy shots. That is the point of when you have two players that can be dominant scorers, use those scores to open up opportunities, get back to ball movement off the ball that this team needs to get to. And the bench, we need this bench to look like the bench that it was starting off the season. We know most of the injuries and ding up have come from that bench unit. But if our bench can contribute the way that we've come accustomed to over this season, especially when we have success, this Bulls team can find success against anyone. Let me know what your guys' thoughts and opinions are and how you feel about this game going into the game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, our third of the season. Can the Bulls finally get a dub against a team that they have just not been able to beat? Now, I said I was going to get into how I want to see this team put other players in better position to move without the ball. One of the biggest things and one of the biggest issues, I should say, that I have with the current state of this team at this point of the season is the lack of development by the younger players that are really the future of the Chicago Bulls. Really, if the Bulls are going to get to a next level of above what they've looked like, it's going to come through the development of their younger pieces. That is Kobe White. That is Ayo Dosunmu. That is Patrick Williams. That is Dalen Terry. And then Marko Simonovic, if you can actually ever find him around the United Center. But we need to do that. And one of the things that this team got away from in that first just quarter of basketball against the Cleveland Cavaliers is using Patrick Williams in the pick and roll. Patrick Williams has only a 14% user rate on the season, and that is terrible. That is terrible for a player that has shown the ability to be your best three-point shooter, to put the ball on the floor, and has shown some point forward capabilities. And I'm going to show you 3 straight possessions that are on the screen now if you're on the YouTube side, in which they use Patrick Williams as both the screener and ball handler, and how those 3 straight possessions all ended in buckets for 6 points. And if you're seeing this, it's very simple offense. To what Stacey King says, it's a simple game. And this is the way in which you can run offense for Patrick Williams, that A, you can build his confidence, B, you can get him easy shots, and C, at the same time, you are also growing the game of Ayo Dosunmu. If you see how Ayo was also involved in these pick and roll situations. And as you see with Patrick Williams, he's understanding how to read and react. He's understanding when and where to attack the basket. He's understanding that when he gets the ball in his hands, how he can make a decision. He's not hesitating as much when he does it. And so for him, for you get 3 straight plays in which he was involved in those plays, and they all end in baskets. But then in the rest of the first half, Patrick Williams only got 1 more shot attempt. That is the thing, right? Nobody, I think, is expecting Patrick Williams to get 12 and 15 shots per game in this offense. But when you find a success with a young player who, at that point, also, has a nice advantage in that pick and roll game, and then you don't go to it. That is my biggest issue with this coaching staff. That is some of the biggest things that I've had. And in this part of the conversation, these are things that I want to see the Chicago Bulls get to doing more consistently in 2023, and that is use your players to their skill set. That's it. Grow their skill set, grow their game. This is how you grow the confidence. And when you look at how originally Pop grew Kawhi Leonard's offensive game and got him confidence, it was much like in those 3 plays that I just showed you guys, using it in pick and roll, things like that. That's what this team needs to get to and needs to find a way to be consistent at. And they have not yet. And that is what has hurt this team. The lack of using Vooch as an inside presence that we know he can be dominant in. When you use Vooch to that level, we know what he can do. But it's especially hurtful when it's a player like a Patrick Williams, who is the future of your team in a lot of different ways. Is he the future star of your team? No, he's not done enough to show that. But he is a huge part of this team improving overall in their future. And when you have a player that you find success in those 3 sequences, and he only gets 1 more field goal attempt the rest of that half, that's the problematic Billy Donovan that we saw. That's the problematic Billy Donovan that we saw last season, going back to Vooch, and in which he did similar things with Nikola Vucevic, in which Vooch was having and rocking and rolling in a quarter and a half, and then he only got a couple of touches left. on the back half of the game. This is where Billy Donovan needs to improve. This is where I'm looking for this coaching staff to be able to just get more naturally out of the roster just by using them in the correct moments and in better ways. Some can be said about that too with the bench. Like Kobe, to his credit, has grown and he's now doing more things ball handling and defensive wise. But last season, Kobe was just used as a spot up shooter. Andre Drummond, who we know is a dangerous roll man and pass man on the pick and roll. How many times do we actually get to see that in a game, even when Andre Drummond is in the game for 12, 16 minutes? These are the areas that this coaching staff can improve. These are the areas that I hope to see them improve in 2023. Another one, more Dalen Terry. And I know this has been a common thing for Bulls fans since the start of the season, but the way that I said at it right now is, yes, the Bulls are winning again. Winners of 5 of the last 7. Hats off to you for that. But for the Bulls team to get more varied, to get more experience, to grow a little bit more, let's see the Rook. I'm not saying let's play the Rook 15 minutes a game, but there's no reason why Dalen Terry can't play 5 to 8 minutes a game to grow his confidence. Yes, right now he is extremely raw. Yes, right now he is going to be playing a lot in the G League to grow his game and get those reps. But let's see a little bit more of Dalen Terry, because I tell you what, we've seen flashes of parts of Dalen Terry's game. The playmaking, we've seen flashes of. The defense on a couple of possessions, specifically against Trae Young, we saw flashes of what he could bring there. Let's see a little bit more Dalen Terry into 2023, especially if we're having a time where Derrick Jones Jr., Javonte are banged up. Want to see that a little bit more from this team. Now, lastly, another thing that I want to see from this team is a trade. And by that, I don't mean a major trade. I don't mean necessarily trading one of the big 3, but I mean a trade that is going to bring some of the skill set, whether it be size or shooting, that we need to this team and help balance out this roster a little bit. Our roster construction has hurt us. I think most Bulls fans know and understand that. And we need to improve that roster construction by either trading, some people could say the buyout market. We'll see. The buyout market didn't necessarily work for us very much last season, but I do want to see this team go out and make some type of deal that shows that AK and Eversley, just like we've seen, are seeing that this team needs some help. This team needs some assistance. This team needs some balancing out of the skill set of the roster. Listen, shout out to Javonte Green, who plays his heart alone, gets him to play bigger than his stature. But some of the games we've seen it in is that he just can't combat some size and some strength just by the nature of him being a 6'4" player playing power forward for the Chicago Bulls team. We need more size. And so I would love to see the Chicago Bulls make a trade to bring in a little bit more size and just to see how that helps the roster and helps improve the roster. Tony Bradley ain't it. Apparently you guys don't believe Marko Simonovic is it. So bring in something else that we need from this team in a position that we've needed for well over a year now. We've known this team has needed more size. And then lastly, also, offensive rebounding. Stop drawing up your offensive scheme to a way that it's just, we don't rebound as a team. If this team, especially as they lack size, can start rebounding as a team, we can see this team's get more second chance points, the offense increase, us not be, put on our heels defensively so often. These are some of the things that I would like to see the Bulls improve in 2023. Let me know down below. What are some of the things you would like to see from this team? It could be anything. Would you like to see them move on from a player? Would you like to see them, do a trade, cut somebody, whatever it is? Sound off down below and let me know what are some of the things you're looking out for this Bulls team to improve in 2023. But that's it. That's it for us for today. Thank you so much for being the best part of Chicago Bulls Central. Make sure you're following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Also, subscribe to NBA Central if you want some general NBA daily content. Go and subscribe over there as well. Otherwise, you guys already know, if you want to leave any text and our voicemails, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. So, like I like to end everything on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red. It's game day. I'll see you guys tonight. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.